Mark Porter. I just wanted to say thank you first off for taking the time to meet with me today and just answer a few questions.
You're welcome.
I saw that you have a pretty strong background in psychology, and I just wanted to know what steps you took to get to where you're at now. How did you transition from just specifically being in studying psychology into sports and performance psychology?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting question because when I was going through my training, I now know that this existed, but I didn't know it at the time. It was very little exposure. So my background is cognitive neuroscience, as you probably read, and I went through and got my PhD in that, did a lot of work on memory and learning in my grad school and in my postdoctoral studies as well. And it was just everywhere I went, you know, when I was at the gym or I was at sport, I would see it through the lens of a psychologist. And I would ask questions. I'd ask the boxers at our gym, their MMA gym, you know, what do you use, or how do you prep yourself? And they would talk about imagery and like imagining colors to hype them up, and then thinking of something different to bring them down. And then in the classroom, teaching statistics and psychology, I'd be using exercise examples.
Right.
So I got to a point where I just said, you know, let's just recognize this. Like, let's just own this.
Yeah.
Let's embrace it. In conversations with my husband, as we talk about, I would talk about like, man, it'd be great to have a career that brought both together.
Yeah.
And so I did the research. I looked into it. I found what was out there, and I decided to do what any good faculty member who wants to get into a new area does. They say, "Can I teach this class?" And so I went to the dean. She was very supportive, and we started talking about a program. And that really is what birthed all of this, is that they honored it, and I went forward.
So this was before this field even existed at Cal Baptist. You just had the idea, the interest, the passion for it, and you went for it.
Yes. Yeah, I actually built the program,
That's
based
amazing.
on that. Yeah, it was crazy.
I don't know, what would you suggest for, I'm just going to be finishing up my undergraduate, but maybe for graduate studies, I know that you have the program up and running now, but wanting to pursue that as a career, going into, I would love to be teaching at the college level at university, but also being able to exercise those skills as a practitioner, and maybe get a C, what is the abbreviation again?
Oh, the CMPC.
Yeah, CMPC.
Yeah.
Can you just give me a little bit of insight into that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's an interesting field because, I mean, at least you have a good idea of what you want to do. A lot of students that of course, they're oftentimes kind of younger, fresh out of undergrad, and you'll be fresh out of undergrad too, but you're a little more established. But they'll come in and they just are like, I don't know, I love the field. And that's harder for me to talk to because there's so many different directions you can take it, right? From the person who, sorry about that.
No problem.
From the person that just wants to be the coach that has this extra edge, and I've got those that are off now coaching in colleges, to the individual that wants to go into academia, maybe get a doctorate, to those that are like, it's pro teams or bust, and it's like saying I want to be a rap star, right? You want to get your CMPC. That is trickier than you might think because it is a field that is more fledgling in its standardization. Certification is important because it is the highest standard that is directly applicable to this field. So that's one. Find a grad program that leads to certification. Again, it's one of the things I'm most proud about with this program because when I built it, I literally sat with the manual of certification requirements and built our program based on that.
Yeah.
So we meet all academic requirements. We're actually the only pre-certified, last I checked, pre-approved program through ASP. I just started even trying to improve anybody. And we have it built in with the mentors, and you get hours through us, and it's very applied, you're out with the team. And then you've got a few PhD programs that will do it too. Now, because you want to go into academia, honestly, my recommendation is that you get your doctorate. So you could do that one of two ways. You can go straight in, which would be the faster way to get your doctorate, and it will open up more doors immediately in terms of like colleges that you could work at.
Right.
You can work at some colleges. Ours is one, JC's definitely, other teaching colleges with your master's. One benefit to that is that if they hire you on full-time with your master's, they will pay for you to get your doctorate. And so we have several faculty do that, but it's a little bit roll of the dice. Because you're not going to be as competitive as other applicants that don't, or that have their doctorate. think we get more of that here because we're selective on having Christian applicants.
Mhm.
So that cuts down our pool.
Right.
So.
Do you have a lot of current students in the program that are seeking academic positions, or are they mostly looking to get into the field as practitioners?
I have a real spread, so I'd say maybe 25% want to
Okay.
get in academia, maybe 30.
Okay.
I have about 22 students, and I would say about 6 to 7 are talking about getting their doctorate now. One of them Sherry started, and they just graduated a month ago, so
That's
she just
great.
went directly, yeah. But the other ones are in the process of applying.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation for that. I like that you're thinking about that because in academia, it's actually one of the safer tracks in terms of feelings of stability because there's an already pre-laid track for you.
Right.
And then doing the consulting on the side, that's how I recommend anyone do it anyways. In fact, it's probably the only way you can do it when you start because you have to build your client base and it's part of the field.
Yeah.
It's the part that people don't like because it feels unstable. Sorry, that's what consulting is, right? So, but I love the complement of it to a different role or having that be your main, but you've got another income producer while you're building your client base. So that's typically what I recommend anyways.
Do you find that directing the program takes you a bit more out of the classroom?
Yeah, but I'm good with that.
Okay.
Because, so here at CBU we have a heavy teaching load.
Okay.
A lot of teaching colleges do. That's not like required at CBU, which is the way it is.
Yeah.
Whereas major research universities would be more of a balance of research to teaching.
Mhm.
So, directing gets me out of a class per semester, and that's a nicer balance for me. So like right now I'm teaching 2 regular academic classes, and then I'm teaching one, it's a class, but it's a research class, like a 1-unit doctoral research, so we're really just doing research and talking about it, which is nice. I like it because my focus, right now I'm trying to make sure that my main focus is building this program and making the structure really solid. We're in our 2nd year, so we're got our feedback from last year. I'm going through and like refining things. We also have no full-time faculty specific to this program outside of me. So if you take half of me and put me in undergrad teaching, then it's really nobody's in there, and I'm trying to half manage and that is hard to do. I know because I did that last year. So what's nice this year is I'm able to teach a grad sports psych, teach an undergrad sports psych, and do research, and the research is linked to sports psych. So my focus feels much better.
What are your class sizes look like?
They're great here. I've taught at a few different institutions, and this is my favorite. Like in terms of class sizes, I have 21 in my grad class, and then in my undergrad, I have, because it's a specialized elective, so I have 16.
So
It's
nice.
lovely.
Yeah. Differentiating between jumping straight into a doctorate program versus a master's first and then doctorate work. I have a young family,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to manage like work and school and
Yeah, it's a
induction
lot.
and all this stuff. So is there an option for part-time in the master's program here?
There's
or is
not
that just
here.
like you gotta go full steam ahead?
Yeah, kinda, it's kind
Okay.
of full steam ahead. I mean, we do make it so that the class, the classes are at night, so that model fits the working student model.
Mhm.
So most of our students work to some degree, full-time's hard.
Yeah.
How young are your kids?
6 and 8.
Yeah, so they're in school full-time.
Mhm.
So good and bad, right? Because then you kind of really want to be there at night. That's the tricky part. And I understand, I'm in the same boat, but I don't have to go to all the classes. I just have to go to the ones that I teach, so
Yeah.
it makes it easier. I made sure we have nothing on Friday. That was intentional,
Mhm.
because that way you've got the weekend, and there's no, at least currently, there's no classes on the weekend, so there's 3 days there right there. But yeah, if you're teaching full-time and then you'd be coming here to class and then trying to fit internship times around that,
Mhm.
you sign up for when you want to sign up. We don't force you to do that. We just list opportunities, and students say, oh, okay, I'll go whatever, women's water polo, or I'll go to men's basketball. Well, not that we don't go to men's basketball, women's basketball, whatever. So you do have that flexibility. But yeah, it would be a tough year.
Mhm.
It's possible, but it'd be a tough year, especially if you're teaching 60 student, or what did you say, 100 and something?
160 roughly.
It's so many
Next year when it
students.
changes and backs off a little bit, then I you know, I'm looking a few years in the future before something like that would happen, but
Yeah.
just like the steps to getting into academia and also getting to working with athletes, I feel like that would be the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's a cool world because
Yeah.
it's a good balance.
Yeah.
And things that you have to think about is how much that's going to earn you,
Right.
and then insurance.
Yeah. Do you find you have a really good work-life balance, or is it a little overwhelming with the hours you're putting in here?
I actually, in the professor that's screening this might not believe me, but it's true. I actually work on average 40 hours a week.
That's amazing.
I count it.
I'm jealous.
I do. Sometimes it causes stress because I won't put in the extra time
Yeah.
to get things, and you see I've got lists everywhere to get things down faster, but I'm not willing to do that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I'm taking so much more out of this than just what was there for my assignment.
Oh, good.
I was feeling like a little, like, apprehensive about, like, oh, I don't want to go interview somebody for this.
Yeah.
And then I really just started dreaming about, like, okay, if I could set everything else aside and what exactly what I'm going to be doing in my life, let's go get that.
Yeah.
And when it sunk in last night that I was going to come talk to you today, I just started realizing what this could potentially be. I mean, check.
Yay! I'm so glad.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
hugely helpful.
Great. Well, it's been fun, and
Yeah.
no, and I appreciate the conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I like it. Yeah, if you don't mind follow up at some point, let me know where you go
Absolutely.
and what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be around.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr.
You're
Waldorf.
welcome.
Really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.